Delete your goals. Right now, stop writing them down. Stop waking up every morning and reciting them in the mirror. And stop believing that the system you were taught is actually working, because it is not. And the reason no one tells you this is because the entire productivity industry makes billions off you believing otherwise. Every planner, every app, every guru on the internet, their entire business model depends on you believing that the answer to your problems is a better goal. But what if the goal itself is the problem? Here is what everyone tells you. Set a goal, write it down, visualize it, wake up early, work hard every single day, and eventually, you will get there. That is the gospel. That is the scripture of modern self-improvement. And you have been following it. You have been doing the vision boards. You have been doing the journaling, the 5 a.m. wake-ups, the cold showers, the affirmations, and still you feel like you are running on a treadmill, feet moving, body exhausted, but not actually going anywhere. There is a gap, a massive painful gap between where you are and where you were told you would be by now. And no amount of motivation has closed it. And here is why. Goals are not a strategy. They are a drug, a painkiller. They give you a temporary sensation of control, a false feeling that you have a plan, that you have a direction, that success is just a matter of discipline and time. But Niccolo Machiavelli, one of the most ruthless strategic minds in human history, understood something that no productivity guru will ever admit. He wrote, "Men judge greater offenses with less resentment than small ones." In other words, the world does not punish boldness. The world punishes predictability. And every goal you have ever set has made you predictable to the market, to your competition, and most dangerously, to yourself. But here is what I am not going to do in this video. I am not going to give you another system, another framework, another 5-step plan to optimize your life. What I am going to give you is something far more dangerous, a method so cold, so calculated, and so ruthlessly effective that once you see it, once you truly understand it, you will never look at goals the same way again. This is the Machiavelli Positioning method. And it does not just replace goals. It makes them irrelevant, completely, structurally, permanently. Now, there is one piece of this framework, one specific technique, one idea that is buried inside this method that I am deliberately holding back until later in this video. And I am telling you right now, it is the piece that ties everything together. The piece that turns everything else I am about to teach you from theory into actual, tangible, undeniable results. If you are serious, if you are genuinely tired of the treadmill, you need to hear it, so do not go anywhere. Let me start with the uncomfortable truth that no one in the self-improvement space wants to say out loud. Goals, the way you have been taught to use them, are a form of self-imprisonment. And I do not mean that metaphorically, I mean it structurally, mechanically. The way you are setting goals is literally building a cage around your own potential, and you do not even see it. When you set a goal, you do something incredibly dangerous. You fix a destination, you pick a single specific point in the future, and you declare, that is where I am going. And the moment you do that, the exact moment, you have just told the universe, and far more importantly, you have told yourself exactly where you are headed and exactly how you plan to get there. You have become a predictable machine. And predictable machines are the easiest things in the world to control, outmaneuver, and defeat. Think about what this actually looks like in your life. If your goal is to make $1 million, everyone around you already knows that. Your competitors know it. The market knows it. The algorithm knows it. Every single decision you make from that point forward is filtered, unconsciously filtered, through that one rigid objective. You cannot pivot when an opportunity shows up that does not fit the plan. You cannot take a risk that does not align with the timeline. You cannot adapt when the environment changes, because you are locked in. You traded the ability to respond to the present for a fantasy about the future. And that trade, that single trade, is why most people never actually arrive. Machiavelli saw this with brutal clarity. In The Prince, he wrote about how the greatest rulers were not the ones who followed a fixed path to victory. They were the ones who could move like water, adapt, shift, respond to the environment in real time without hesitation. They did not chase a destination, they controlled their position, and that distinction, destination versus position, is the foundation of everything I am teaching you today. Positioning is not about where you are going, it is about where you are standing right now, and making that position so structurally, so mathematically powerful, that success becomes an automatic byproduct of where you stand. Here is what that looks like in the real world. Say your goal is to become the top marketing consultant in your city. That is a goal. It has a destination. It has a timeline. Probably an aggressive one. Probably one that already makes you anxious. And from the moment you set it, every action is measured against that target. But now imagine you did something completely different. Imagine you spent the next 6 months, quietly, silently, building a very specific skill set that no one else in your market possesses. You do not announce it. You do not brand it. You do not make it your identity. You just build it. And then when the market naturally, organically creates a demand for exactly what you have built, you are already there. Not because you chased it. Not because you set a goal and ground yourself into the dirt pursuing it. Because you were standing in the exact right position when the wave arrived, and you rode it effortlessly. That is positioning. That is real power. And goals had absolutely nothing to do with it. But here is what I want you to really sit with. The person who did the positioning, they were not less ambitious, they were more calculated. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. Now here is where it gets dangerous. And I want you to pay very close attention, because this is one of the most psychologically powerful and most psychologically uncomfortable ideas in this entire framework. It is called the secret agenda principle, and it comes directly from Machiavelli's understanding of how power actually operates between people. When you share your goals publicly, and most people do, constantly, you create something I want you to think about very carefully. It is called external leverage. The moment other people know what you are working toward, they hold power over your ambition. They become able to judge you, to remind you of your failures, to set a standard that you feel obligated to meet. And worst of all, and this is the part that will genuinely disturb you if you think about it honestly, they become a source of accountability that actually paralyzes you. Because now the stakes are not just about you, they are about what others think of you. And that added weight makes it harder to act, not easier. There is psychological research that directly supports this. It is called the goal-sharing illusion. When you announce a goal to other people, your brain registers a small but real hit of social approval. Other people acknowledge what you are doing. They respond positively, and your brain interprets that response as progress. But it is not progress, it is a simulation of progress, a neurological trick. And that simulation, that fake sense of forward motion, actually reduces your internal drive to do the real, unglamorous work. You have already received the reward without doing the thing. Your brain has no reason to push you further. Machiavelli understood this principle intuitively. Even though the neuroscience did not exist yet to explain why, he wrote extensively about rulers who kept their true intentions hidden, not out of cowardice, not out of shame, but out of a calculated superiority that came from information asymmetry. The moment your competition or your peers, or even your closest friends, knows what you are actually building, they can prepare, they can counter, they can position themselves against you. But if they have no idea, if your real moves are invisible to them, you have already won. Before the game even starts, before anyone even knows there is a game being played. So the secret agenda principle is this. Stop sharing what you are genuinely working on, not because you are ashamed of it, not because you do not believe in it, but because silence is one of the most powerful strategic weapons available to you. The people who move fastest in life are not the loudest, they are the quietest. They are the ones who are 3 moves ahead while everyone else is still performing their first move for an audience. Start operating with this mindset. Build things no one knows you are building. Develop skills people would be shocked to learn you have. And then watch what happens when the moment arrives where those skills are exactly what is needed. You will not have to chase it. It will come to you. Here is something that most people in the self-help space will never tell you, because it makes them uncomfortable, because it does not sell courses, because it does not generate dopamine hits on social media. Hope is not a strategy, it is an emotion. And emotions, when it comes to building real, structural, lasting power, are liabilities. They are not tools, they are distractions. Machiavelli had a concept for this. He called it necessity. And what he meant by it was deceptively simple, but incredibly difficult to actually practice. In the real world, in the actual, cold, indifferent world you operate in every single day, you do not get to choose the conditions. You only get to choose how you respond to them. And the most powerful response, the one that actually produces results, is not hope. It is not optimism. It is not faith. It is calculation. Pure, unemotional, data-driven calculation. What does calculation actually look like when you apply it to your life? It means looking at your situation exactly as it is, not as you wish it were, not as it was supposed to be, Not through the filter of what you have been told life should look like at your age, exactly as it is, right now, today, with brutal, unflinching honesty, and then asking yourself a series of questions that most people are too afraid to ask. What do I actually have, not what do I want? What are the real constraints in front of me right now? What moves are available to me given those exact constraints? And which single move gives me the highest probability, not the highest feeling, the highest actual probability of a meaningful outcome? Here is why this matters. Most people spend their mornings thinking about their goals, thinking about the future, thinking about the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And that gap, that painful, anxiety-inducing, always present gap, is where procrastination lives. It is where self-doubt lives. It is where the crushing weight of "I should be further along by now" lives. And it is where most people spend the majority of their emotional energy, draining themselves on something they cannot touch, cannot control, and cannot change. But a person who thinks in terms of necessity does not look at the gap. They do not even acknowledge it. They look at the board, the current state, the actual pieces, the actual players, and they make the single best move available to them right now, not tomorrow, not when the conditions are perfect, not when they have more resources or more confidence or more clarity, right now, with exactly what they have. And then they do it again tomorrow, and the next day, not because they are motivated, not because they feel inspired, because calculation dictates it. And over time, over weeks and months of small, precise, calculated moves, the position changes dramatically, without ever setting a goal, without ever needing one. Think about how a chess grandmaster operates. They do not sit down and fantasize about checkmate. They do not create a vision board of their ideal endgame. They look at the board as it exists in this exact moment. They calculate the probabilities of every available move. They choose the one with the highest strategic value, and they execute it. That is necessity. That is how power is actually built, not through hope, through precision. Now we are getting into the core mechanics of the Machiavelli Positioning framework. And this concept, virtue, is one that most people in the self-improvement space get completely, fundamentally wrong. They see the word, and they think it means virtue, morality, being ethical, being a good person. It means none of those things, not in the way Machiavelli used it. In Machiavelli's framework, virtue means skill, raw, developed, deliberately cultivated capability. The ability to read your environment accurately and then shape it to your advantage. It is not about being good, it is about being effective. And that distinction between being good and being effective is one of the most important distinctions you will ever make in your life. Here is the brutal, honest truth about the world you live in. The environment does not care about your feelings. The market does not care about your dreams. The economy does not reward effort. None of these systems have any mechanism for rewarding effort. They reward results, outcomes, actual, tangible, measurable results. And results come from exactly one thing: your ability to read a situation with precision and act on it with calculated effectiveness. That is virtue. And unlike talent, unlike luck, unlike natural ability, virtue is something you build deliberately, systematically, over time. So, how do you actually develop it? You start by studying your environment with a level of obsessive attention that most people will find uncomfortable. Not casually, not passively, not by scrolling content about your industry while half watching Netflix. Obsessively. You learn the patterns. You learn what actions produce what results in your specific context. You learn who the real power players are, not who performs power publicly, but who actually holds it. You learn the unwritten rules, the invisible dynamics, the forces that most people never even notice because they are too busy staring at the surface. And then, and this is where virtue actually gets built, you start experimenting. Small experiments, controlled, deliberate. You take a specific action, you observe the response, you measure the outcome, you adjust, you try again. This is not grinding. This is not hustle culture. This is surgical, scientific. You are running tests on your environment. You are learning what works specifically for your position, your skills, your context. And every successful experiment, even a small one, adds to your virtue. Your capability grows. Your confidence in your ability to shape outcomes grows. And your dependence on goals, on external targets to tell you what to do, dissolves. Because you no longer need a destination to know what move to make. You can read the board, and that ability, that genuine, earned ability to read and respond, is worth more than 1,000 goals. Now before you click away, There is one piece I told you about in the beginning of this video, the piece I deliberately held back. The technique that ties the entire Machiavelli positioning framework together and turns it from a collection of interesting ideas into something that will actually change the trajectory of your life. And I want to be completely transparent with you before I explain it. This concept is not comfortable. It is not something that feels good to hear. It requires something that most people, if they are being honest with themselves, are not willing to do. But if you are willing, if you are genuinely, seriously willing, this single idea will do more for you than 5 years of goal setting, 10,000 motivational videos, and every productivity hack you have ever tried, combined. It is called internal self-tyranny. And it is the most ruthless, the most effective, and the most profoundly misunderstood principle in the entire Machiavellian power system. Here is the idea. Machiavelli, in his analysis of power, both external and internal, came to a conclusion that shook the foundations of how he understood human behavior. He understood that the greatest threat to any ruler, any powerful, ambitious, capable individual, was not the enemy outside the gates. It was the enemy inside, the slow, invisible, corrosive rot that creeps in when a person becomes comfortable, when they stop feeling urgency, when the gap between who they are and who they could be starts to feel acceptable. He called it the internal enemy, and he prescribed a solution that sounds almost paradoxical. You must become a tyrant to yourself. You must rule yourself with the same cold, uncompromising authority that the most powerful rulers used to control entire nations. So what does that actually mean in practice? It means you completely stop negotiating with your own laziness. You stop making deals with your comfort zone. You stop saying, I will start tomorrow, or I just need more motivation, or I need to find my passion, or I need to feel ready. Those phrases, every single one of them, are the vocabulary of someone who has surrendered to the internal enemy. They are permission slips you are writing to yourself to do nothing, and internal self-tyranny means you revoke those permission slips permanently. You do not ask yourself if you feel like doing the work. You do not check in with your emotional state before taking action. You do not wait for the moment to feel right. You act with the same cold, unemotional, mechanical precision you would apply to calculating a chess move. The emotion is irrelevant, the action is not. But, and here is the part that separates internal self-tyranny from simple discipline, from grinding, from all the hustle culture nonsense you have been fed. This is not about suffering. It is not about punishing yourself. It is not about white-knuckling your way through pain every single day until you break. That is not tyranny. That is self-destruction wearing a productive mask. Real internal self-tyranny is about something far more precise. It is about removing the friction, the psychological friction that exists between the moment you know you should do something and the moment you actually do it. That gap, that tiny, seemingly insignificant gap, is where your entire life leaks, and internal self-tyranny closes it. The way you close it is not through willpower. Willpower is a myth. It depletes, it fluctuates, it fails precisely when you need it most. The way you close it is through structure. You deliberately, intentionally design your environment so that the productive action is the path of least resistance. You remove every possible point of friction. You eliminate the decisions that drain you. You make it structurally harder to do nothing than to do something. And then you reinforce that structure daily. Not with motivation, not with inspirational quotes, not with a new journaling practice. With repetition, cold, mechanical, unemotional repetition, until the action is no longer a choice. Until it is simply what you do. Until the tyrant you have built on the inside, the disciplined, calculated, ruthless version of yourself, runs the show automatically, without resistance, without internal debate, without negotiation. This is what Machiavelli understood that the modern self-help industry will never grasp, because the self-help industry profits from your struggle. They need you to keep buying solutions to a problem they never actually help you solve. But Machiavelli was not selling anything. He was describing how power actually works. And real power, the kind that is unshakable, the kind that compounds over time, the kind that makes everything else in your life easier, is not built on passion. It is not built on dreams. It is built on the absolute, ruthless elimination of everything inside you that stands between who you are right now and who you are capable of becoming. And once you have done that, once you have genuinely conquered the internal enemy, nothing external, no competition, no bad luck, no economic collapse, no circumstance of any kind can stop you, because you have become something that goals could never create. You have become a person who acts without needing permission from your own mind. Everything I have described so far might sound theoretical, abstract, like something you admire intellectually but do not actually know how to put into practice. And I get that. But I am not going to let you leave this video with theory and no action. Here is exactly how you begin the shift from goal setting to positioning, starting right now, today, without blowing up your entire life overnight. Step 1. Do an audit, but not the kind of audit you are used to. Do not ask yourself, what do I want? That question is a trap. It pulls you into fantasy. Instead, ask yourself, what position am I actually in right now? Look at your real skills, your actual network, the resources you genuinely have access to, the environment you actually operate in. Map all of it out, with zero emotion, no judgment, no comparison to anyone else. Just cold, honest data. What do you actually have to work with? Most people have never done this, and the reason they never get anywhere is because they have been planning from a fantasy instead of from reality. Step 2. Find the gap. Look at your environment, your industry, your community, your market, whatever space you operate in, and identify a position that is empty, a combination of skills, knowledge, access, or perspective that no one around you currently occupies. This is not about being quirky or unique for its own sake. This is about finding a structural advantage, a place to stand where the competition has not yet arrived, where the demand will eventually show up, but where no one is waiting to catch it. Step 3. Move into that position quietly. Do not broadcast it. Do not brand yourself around it. Do not create content about your new strategic direction. Just start building, in silence. Learn what you need to learn. Develop what you need to develop. Apply internal self-tyranny to make sure the building actually happens, every single day, regardless of how you feel about it. The silence is not optional. It is part of the strategy. Because the moment you announce the move, you lose the advantage. Step 4. Trust the math, not the feeling. Positioning takes time. You are not going to feel results in a week, and that absence of immediate feedback will make you anxious. It will make you doubt. It will make you want to go back to goal setting, because at least goals give you a sense of progress. Resist that pull. Instead, trust the calculation. If you are in a position no one else occupies, and you are developing capabilities no one else has, and you are doing it with the consistency that internal self-tyranny demands, the results are not a hope. They are a mathematical certainty. It is only a matter of when, not if. I promised you one more thing at the end, something you were not expecting. A bonus that has nothing to do with productivity or planning, or any of the things you were expecting this video to be about. And I think this tip, this single behavioral shift, is going to change how you carry yourself in every single room you walk into for the rest of your life. It is called weaponizing contrast. Here is how it works. Look around you, at anyone who is visibly ambitious, who posts about their grind, who talks about their hustle, who performs striving for an audience. Now notice something. They all look the same. They all sound the same. They all carry the same energy, frantic, anxious, desperate to prove something. And in a world where everyone is performing ambition at the same volume, at the same intensity, at the same frequency, no one stands out. They all blend into one indistinguishable mass of motivational. But contrast, true contrast, is the single most attention-grabbing force in any environment. It is how the brain works. We are wired to notice the thing that is different, the thing that does not fit the pattern. And the most powerful form of contrast available to you right now is deceptively simple. Become the calmest, most unbothered, most collected person in any competitive space you occupy. While everyone around you is frantically chasing, performing, and anxiously grinding, you are calm, you are measured, you are unbothered. Not because you do not care about your results, but because you have already positioned yourself. You already know exactly where you stand and exactly where you are going. And that knowledge, that deep, earned, structural certainty, creates a stillness that is almost magnetic. Machiavelli wrote about this repeatedly. The rulers who commanded the deepest, most lasting respect were never the ones who displayed the most effort. They were the ones who displayed the most control of their emotions in high-pressure situations, control of their narrative, control of their response to adversity. They looked like people who had already won. And that appearance, when it is backed by genuine positioning, genuine virtue, genuine internal self-tyranny, is not an appearance at all. It is reality. And the world responds to reality in ways that effort and hustle alone never produce. People are drawn to it. They trust it instinctively. They want to be in proximity to it, not because you ask them to, because contrast in a world drowning in noise is the one thing that cannot be manufactured. And if you have done the work this video has laid out for you, If you have actually built your position, you have not manufactured it, you have earned it. So here is where we are. You came into this video carrying a belief you have had your entire life, that the path to success is paved with goals, specific, measurable, written down, reviewed daily, and I have just spent the last 20 minutes showing you, with precision, why that belief has been quietly, systematically holding you back. Goals make you predictable, and predictability in a world that punishes it is not a strategy, it is a vulnerability. The people who are genuinely ahead in life, not the ones who are performing ahead, but the ones who are structurally, quietly, undeniably ahead, they are not following a destination, they are controlling a position. They are using the secret agenda principle to move in silence while everyone else announces their moves. They are applying necessita to make cold, precise decisions with whatever is in front of them. They are building virtù, real, earned capability, through deliberate experimentation. They are practicing internal self-tyranny to close the gap between intention and action permanently. And they are weaponizing contrast to become the most calm, the most trusted, the most magnetic force in any environment they enter. Imagine what your life looks like 6 months from now if you actually start operating this way. No more anxiety about not hitting your goals. No more guilt. No more exhaustion from chasing something that always feels just out of reach. Just a quiet, deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing, not hoping, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that everything you are building is working, silently, structurally, and inevitably. That is what the Machiavelli positioning method gives you. And if you want to go deeper, if you want the full, step-by-step execution playbook for building your own position from scratch, that is exactly what my next video covers. So that this is not just a video you watched, it is a shift you actually made.